Carlo's just joined. There we go. We are now recording. Thank you, Carlo. User groups, we've got the Copilot and M365 one. So this month we've got Andrew, next month maybe me, and then the month over maybe Daniel Anderson. He did message me last night. I haven't had a chance to email message him back because I was here, then I had work, and then I got this, and then I got work. So we will organise something, and he said he will come over in person for it, which is awesome considering Daniel is a very busy person.
I need some new stickers.
Sorry?
I need some new stickers.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't generally have stickers, I don't think.
Oh, I've got them for him.
If not, I'll bug him. Say, bring some stickers. I don't actually have any stickers. You got some stickers.
I've got some, but
yeah,
I've got them.
We're out of them at the moment. A newsletter, which I never send to, but feel free to sign up. I sent you newsletters for 15 years. The amount of engagement I got from them was minimal, and it's ended up taking 4 or 5 hours to do the newsletter, which I'd never get back. And yeah, sign up. If there's anything important, I'll send it out. If you want a specific topic, let me know. Submit the form, and one of us surely can present on it. If not, I can find someone to present on it. Keep in mind, Copilot is everything these days. So probably can't find someone who's an expert Copilot in Paint or Notepad. But
Not yet.
an interesting fact, the first bug in Notepad for 15 years is because of Copilot. So yay, Copilot. But if you've got a topic, complex topic, light topic, short topic, happy to find out what we can do. And likewise, if you want to present, that should be 2027. I keep saying that, but oh well. I am starting early planning, penciling in a few people, not confirming them, but penciling them in. If you want to present, let me know. Andrew, Dan, John, why not? Always happy to have people present. Social media, you've seen me on social media. Everyone here see me on social media day in, day out. I've got new images soon, so that'll be good. If you want to see the same face over and over again. And how is Copilot being used today? I've actually updated these slides. So this is based on what I've been seeing around the traps, what I've been listening to, what I've been hearing of how various organisations are using various aspects of Copilot. So especially with the tour I was bugging the 7 people, how are they using it? We're seeing a lot of different ways it's being used. All, fine, don't get me wrong, there's no right way to use it, no wrong way to use it, but we're seeing a whole heap of stuff. Knowledge retrieval seems to be one of the main ones, Copilot chat. And it's not like Hello Copilot, it's like actually engaging with it, looking at the data, seeing how we can improve our workflows. Copilot Studio is probably, yet again, still a bit of an underdog. You can either have Copilot for 365, which is your personal productivity tool that you have to deploy to everyone, or we can deploy an agent that everyone can use. There's 20 grand versus 1,500. It's certainly a different experience. Gov and education are picking up on it pretty big. Large organisations are picking up fairly big because they see the cost-benefit ratio to that. Smaller businesses, I'm trying to steer down this path, but if you've got a business with, say, 4 or 5 people, that's $200 a month versus $1,500 a year. You still got to go through, you've still got to build your agents and all this sort of stuff. So it's a balancing act, but it's worthwhile. To go through it, we're seeing manufacturing and mining are certainly picking up Copilot agents or Copilot Studio agents. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that in the mining. Business intelligence and data teams, obviously, these are going hammers with Copilot agents. Being able to connect it to things like Fabric and Foundry and things like that just really boosts them up. But don't go cross subscription. That's the one that I've been working with the last month. Got a client, they've got Copilot Foundry or Copilot Studio in one subscription and Copilot Studio in another subscription, and the two shall not talk. So I'm fighting them and Microsoft at the moment for that. Enterprises, like I said, they're picking up on agents pretty heavily, both Foundry and Studio. Telstra, for example, Wes Farmers. Wes Farmers is huge with them. Prompts of the week. Yet again, I won't expect everyone to remember these prompts, but check them out. Prompt Copilot prompt library. Need a better URL for that. But I was literally in this today, this afternoon, and there's some really cool ones like organize my inbox by category and give me a time estimation and breakdown by category of how much time I'm spending on each category. So very cool. Definitely worthwhile checking out. Prompt library. P&P. The agentic AI pictures that I always show. I do like showing these because it's becoming more and more relevant, especially with things like Copilot, how we can actually utilize all the different architectures. Jiggling around. But this has been around for a while now, so it's probably outdated.
So as soon as you finished it.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, pretty much. Well, it's not me. This guy. He did it. Dan. I mean, it's a very cool infographic. It is actually animated, but for some reason it's not actually animating today. But yeah, I mean, trying to convince or talk to my wife last night just because robots and this is somewhat analysis to this is watching everyone see the robots in China for the Moon Festival, the Moon New Year. You see that? I think I sent it to you. So all the robots, they were doing all the moves and moving like humans, which is all well and good. But I said to my wife, they'll never get tired. They'll never stop. They'll never have a break. And they don't have to move like humans. It's just that we're making them move like humans at the moment. Same with the memory of how we can actually shift information around. Well, how do humans do it? We talk, we write. But with AI agents, we can just copy the memory across. We don't have to give it that basic set of information. So it's a good way of sort of starting to think of how we can actually break the bounds of the box with AI as well. I also like showing this image. Again, everyone's seen this probably 1,000 times, but it's still a good breakdown of where you should end up. Whether you're going to be in Foundry Studio or Copilot or something else. It is really worthwhile checking out these details as well. Thanks to our sponsors, Microsoft and Arconosis AG. AG for the pizza and drinks, Microsoft for the venue. We've got different user groups, 2, 4, 6. I need to put Matt's on there, don't I?
It's not really a user group, but it's a community.
Yeah, technically so's yours.
Sorry.
It's not a user group. Yeah. Oh! But I also seen another one that has done
It's on Discord, so it's a different platform. It's a Discord server. It's not a meetup.
But no, it's worthwhile. I'll put Matt's on there because I mean it's another one it's a good one to sort of go out and have a drink with. Out of band, check out Andrew's new one. When's the next step?
Hopefully get it done next week. It's an old image. Shahan's no longer in the group, so yeah, stay tuned for probably the week after we'll go live.
Send me a new image then.
Yeah.
Go digital workplace conference. We've got pre-conference workshops, which I am doing as well, and the conference, which I am speaking on the 29th of May as well. So everyone from here is going to be over there. And this is hosted in Melbourne. I've got tickets to give away. So if you want to go, let me know, and I'll organise you a free ticket and take a photo and say you won it. But with the conference every year, the user groups, we get a ticket for the user group leads and also to give away to sort of promo. So it's yearly we get. Global Security Bootcamp happening in August. Thanks to Andrew. Call for speakers is open. Local event here in Adelaide. We always want more events here in Adelaide. I think I've been drumming that in for a while. I think we all have been, which did actually result in a few Copilot events last year, which was great. But the more people we get, the more attendees, the more Microsoft can see, the more justification they get. Join us for the Global Security Bootcamp Adelaide. It's all free. Microsoft are putting it on. Well, putting up the bills. Andrew's putting it on. And the team. And the team, which is not me. I'm just promoting it for Andrew as well. Check out the link.
I expect you to be there to help out and present.
And more details available when they're available. So bringing events to Adelaide, always the Adelaide Microsoft community hashtag. We're trying to, that's what we've been using for a few years now.
Yeah.
So it's all there. We're trying to get, as I said, more in-person events happening. Let's work together. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's work together to build a strong community. Yes, good on you, Daniel. What's new in Copilot? There's a whole bunch of stuff, and thinking when you were going through your stuff, Andrew, geez, there's a lot to go over. So I'm not going to go over it all. The biggest one is probably Copilot code work to go over. There's agents in Outlook, there's agents in Word, there's more new AI in SharePoint, there's chat first, AI first, Copilot mobile app, Claude mode for Word, all these different things. Like I was looking at the whole what's new, I'm like, I mean, it's all right at the moment for us because we're all technical, but when we've got non-technical people in the room, we're spending 10 minutes on this. They're not going to remember 90% of it. So check out what's new for Copilot. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but the big one is Copilot co-work. So has anyone looked at it yet? Co-work?
Not in that sense.
Yep.
Haven't been able to play with it direct.
Okay, yep,
just
yep.
watched all the news.
Have you seen the demo video or the demos from it? It's interesting. It's probably what Copilot should have been when it first came out. This was kind of the feeling that we're getting where, and it's not so much that I'm saying Microsoft held it back. What I'm saying is the technology has now gotten to a point where we can actually do this. LLMs and GPTs really have just been telling us information. Claude so far has been able to do things, and that's the difference. Yeah, there you go. So
Is it widely available at the moment, or is it in Frontier?
yeah, so you got to be in the Frontier program, which you can get into. After a lot of mucking around, you don't need to be a massive organisation. You just go to the website, sign up, tick a few options, wait 24 hours, and then your tenancy is going to be enabled for it. And then it will be as a agent in Copilot. It'll come up. I can show you how it comes up. It just comes up as an agent. We look in Copilot icon. Get it all.
We've done 3 bits instead of 2. You do need to enable Anthropic.
Correct. You've got to have the Anthropic stuff enabled for it because it all uses Claude.
It might not fly in the EU, but
is it using Claude within the tenancy or is it still without?
Yeah, I think the January update was that it's inside.
Yeah, it's inside the boundaries, isn't it?
Data protection addendum from Microsoft. But
I thought that was the case.
It's still sort of processing offshore, so that's why the GDPR thing wouldn't allow it or something.
But the example that Microsoft uses, we need to, Ziva. Ziva is their new company, isn't it? Ziva. So if you see Ziva or where is it? I did see it somewhere. I will see it in the video. But pause that with co-work because I'll show the video. It's a minute 40 long, so it's really quick. But essentially, it's now the action. And we did get this update to co-work today. So we've now got mobile in theory. That's not out yet. We were talking about that, and it's coming soon, literally in my tenancy. So who knows? We've also got the skills that it can utilise to capture how work gets done, reuse it and scale across your team, which basically means Copilot can now learn and have custom specific skills built in across the workflow, creating documents, coordinating meetings, conducting research. And we can create our custom skill set as well, like we can with agents and bots back in the day. And we've got plugins now as well. So I think, Andrew, you were saying the biggest one is the D365 plugin. It is part of that. But also Monday.com. And there will be more. Like if you look at all the plugins in MCP now for Copilot, there is thousands. I was going to say hundreds, but there's not now. There's thousands. And we'll likely see that grow. So MCP is the new API. Eventually, there will be software assessments done by organizations say, oh, do I have API access? Yes. Do I have MCP access? Yes. Because we want to start to see a way to interact with those third-party apps. So I won't bang on too much about co-work. I will show the video. Blurry one.
Say you're an account manager and you have a big customer meeting coming up fast. Let's use Copilot Co-work to handle it. Because it connects directly into Work IQ, it doesn't rely on connectors, which only captures fragments of data and lacks full context about you and how you work. You need the latest account updates turned into a briefing doc, usage and sales trends to dig deeper, and a presentation you can walk into the room with. That's a lot of moving pieces. Copilot Co-work doesn't just respond. It takes your full request, breaks it into tasks, and carries the work forward, start to finish. But this isn't prompt and response. You can interrupt, steer, and add to it as you go. You remember you want to schedule prep time with your team and send a status update to the broader account team. Co-work folds it into the plan without pausing what's already in motion. It checks schedules and sends a meeting proposal your way, which you can book right then and there. Then it crafts the email, which you can edit manually and hit send, bringing the power of Outlook right into the flow of work. Now let's see what it put together for us. It creates a briefing doc packed with an account snapshot and everything relevant for the room. And it keeps to your original template formatting, a presentation that lays out the opportunities and your competitive edge, and a sales and usage breakdown with graphs and charts to back it up, all saved directly to OneDrive so the content is immediately enterprise knowledge that's protected and ready for collaboration. While all of this is happening, Co-work is moving all your tasks forward at once, and because it runs inside Microsoft 365, security and compliance come built in. This is Copilot Co-work, built for real work.
So as we can see, basically, the way that I like it is it's a solution packager for Copilot. So I want to create an email, create the presentation, give me the finance, give me the figures in an Excel spreadsheet, package it all up. Here they are, zip file. I mean, it's not a zip file, but it's a whole solution come together. You can steer it. You can have multiple runs. Now we're seeing it. You can initiate on the mobile app. This technically is all platform agnostic as well. So we started on the mobile, pick it up on the desktop, go back to mobile, etc., etc. So it's cool. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out in the real world. I think business will probably adopt it. I mean, it's pretty, especially the AI tool is very well received, both in New Zealand and in AU. People are like, oh yeah, this is going to be really good. But I want to see those real use cases where, okay, now we've got real documents, real data, real documentation, rather than just Sava, which is the new Contoso. Because I don't know, Contoso must have went bankrupt or something. Was it AdventureWorks was the one before that?
Tailspin.
We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a bit of a success, purely based on Claude. You know, the success that Claude has had.
But the curious thing is it stores its files inside your OneDrive. So there's an input and output, but it takes a copy of the file input.
Yeah.
So the whole point of Copilot is you can reference files that already exist in SharePoint, OneDrive, etc. But this takes a copy of it.
I can see that being
so
a
it
problem.
could be a problem later on.
Yeah.
If you don't clean it up.
Because if Jane leaves the company and we disable her account and she's got all of our product information in her OneDrive because it was all initiated through co-work. Okay, but then maybe that's the process that you have to deploy or have to develop to say they're draft documents, ignore them. Once you actually are finished and you're ready to present, like, you know, let's take our PowerPoint presentation, maybe that needs to be then live in the SharePoint site. I don't know the solution to that though. And I don't think Microsoft does either, because otherwise,
I think because it's using Claude in the background and it has to do it that way.
Maybe it could prompt you, is this a SharePoint project or a Teams project? How would you actually initiate that process to say, oh, it needs to go over here? I'm not sure if it can. There's a solution to that. That's why they've gone, let's just use OneDrive. Because then Daniel uses co-work, Daniel files, Daniel's data, Daniel's OneDrive. So that's kind of how I've seen that. But I did pick up on that. I thought, going to be a lot of stuff in people's OneDrives.
Is it storing temp files? Is it basically like bring a copy of not so much temp, but it's taking a copy.
Yeah.
So it could be something that exists, it's published in SharePoint. It copies it into the input folder, and then does all the work on over it in there. And then you've got an output folder. So then you've got subfolders to work with that aren't surfaced. And the parent folders are like coids of the session. So instead of the task name inside Cowork, you've got this random session name. You rely on the date. It was modified to figure out which one it was. But when you're in Cowork, you go open up the folder. It should take you to the OneDrive spot, unless it dies, which it can. And
A whole bunch of learning resources as well. There's new exams, new beavers. No, not a beaver there. What are badges? No. What's that thing? Raccoon.
Raccoon.
There we go.
Bits.
Whole bunch of stuff like that. I've gone through a whole bunch of it already. I want to give Andrew a little bit of time for his presentation. Recommended learning paths. I need to update this, but still, design a dream destination with AI is a really good one. Applied skills. Create agents in Copilot Studio. I'm still recommending that. I think that's still a worthwhile one, but that's being retired, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Another one, a newer one is using Copilot to do productivity things.
Yeah, they've changed their terms and thus their
I went into that this morning, and then I did a lunch and learn, kind of facilitated the workshop and took people through it. And it's
So this is still available, I believe.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
available. The other one's more around using prompts and the agent modes inside the application. So it's pretty good. This is more like next step, hands-on.
There we go. Can't even the beaver squirrel or whatever it is.
You didn't put the image in.
Sorry?
You didn't put the image in.
Nah. I didn't get to it because yet again I'm thinking
It's too many.
there's a lot. There's your beginner, your intermediate, your advanced, or your commander, but that's not out yet. Then like you were showing yesterday, there's also MCP, there's YAML, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'll add them over time. One thing I will point out is the adoption.microsoft.com. Great website, whole bunch of content, whole bunch of presentations, do's, don'ts, the templates for email adoption. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. Really, really worthwhile checking out. Likewise with the Copilot Learning Hub, whole bunch of stuff there. And the Copilot Academy, yet again, a whole bunch of stuff there, though. I think this is slowly dying because it's all based on Viva. So
well, it's the Microsoft Learn stuff, big service, Viva. It's kind of, is it still part of the license for Copilot, or is it?
Yeah,
I think it pops up as soon as you get a license.
Yeah, so we'll see. I've got to check it out again. And with that, I'll hand over to Andrew because that's my intro slide deck. That's out there. He's presenting next month. And yeah, over to Andrew.
So that's working.
You see?
Oh, I felt like it.
Plug in or?
Yeah, I mean, I need to plug in.
You're already-
I've joined the call.
Yeah, you're good.
It's hiding the DWC logo because we're not actually at DWC in case of any copyright or whatever. Whoops. I also haven't done any animations yet, which is why it's still draft. Hello, thanks for coming. I'm Andrew O'Young. I am a AI workforce / modern work and security capability lead at Informotion. This company does a lot of work in the past with content manager, records management, and the likes. So I'm part of a new Microsoft business unit within the company. Also a Microsoft MVP in security and M365, and if you haven't got it already, I lead the Adelaide Microsoft IT Pro community meetup / user group, whatever it may be. Also part of the podcast that you just saw, and chapter lead of the global security community for Adelaide. It's coming up with bootcamp in August. So I should probably have a kind of holding slide to really introduce the topic, but it is data security considerations for M365 Copilot and agents. I think it's the fourth time maybe I've presented on this topic, and it's probably the third set of slides I've got. So obviously it's because stuff changes every 6 minutes. But if you're looking at this, it's 6 months of change. Even Microsoft can't keep up with their own product name rebrands and stuff. So DSPM for AI is no longer that, it's DSPM brackets preview. So that's data security posture management. And I guess as part of the whole discover first piece, there is a lot of companies and organizations don't know what they have. And if they do know what they have, it's not classified data, it's not labeled, there's no metadata, there's not much control or governance across those records if they're in their organization, right? So when you start introducing AI, it just amplifies the fact that, hey, you've got access. Why do you have access? Or you're sharing things that shouldn't have been there in the first place. It's old data, stuff from 10 years ago. It should be archived. That's where you start introducing inaccuracies, wrong information, right? So when you're considering AI, that's probably one of the first things, is make sure that your data is ready first before you're even AI ready in the literate sense, or being able to use agents and Copilot, know how to prompt these. Got to take care of the underlying data first. So moving forward a bit, just before this month, I think a lot of the change has been around we're introducing more features to stop AI from being able to surface the sensitive information. So if you've got data loss prevention, there's labels now that you can say this Copilot's not allowed to ever look at this file. And that's from the granular file level. So we're not blocking access from sites, folders, document libraries. We can now just go, sure, Copilot can access all the things, but those files with a label, it can't access those ones. So we've got a bit of, I guess, granular control and help with our governance procedures there. And obviously, if you saw the news, you've been paying attention every month leading up to now, there is a new Microsoft 365 license, the E7 SKU, which is hopefully the bells and whistles this time round. But as effectively, that's your M365 E5, there's the Copilot license, there's Entra Suite, and there's something called Agent 365. So moving forward from May 1st, the general availability date, we've now got Agent 365 generally available, which is that control plane for all of the agents in your tenant. So that could be ones that are created through the agent builder in M365 Copilot, Copilot Studio, Microsoft Foundry, all agents that are third party, agent to agent, anything that's in your tenant and has an ID against it, Agent 365 will see it, and you'll be able to govern or control who and which agents are allowed to exist in your tenant. So that's kind of the rapid shifting from the last 6 months. And 6 months ago, that was Ignite 2025. So all the big announcements, and now finally things are falling into place. And as I mentioned before, Copilot does amplify the issues. So I think the first one really, even before talking about AI and Copilot, is people have been using SharePoint for now 25 years, and we had a lot of conversations yesterday about, hey, it's a really organized spot. It's not really. A lot of it's just thrown together. It's lift and shifts of file servers, no consideration of what's in there. But SharePoint Online introduced something that probably exacerbates the problem, is allowing you to share. And the default sharing behavior is everyone, all the things, no security. Yeah, there really no security because it's anonymous links, right? So next step there would be the turn off on the tenant level, stop external sharing. Okay, sure. You still got all these links that are created. So every time you copy a link, that's a new access control list entry in there. And if you don't delete them or expire these sharing links, they'll forever have access to that information. So if that user ever gets Copilot, for example, and they ask questions that somehow it falls from that document, and maybe they don't need access anymore, maybe they shouldn't have had access to begin with, but their Copilot experience is going to be what it should be. So that's why oversharing is, I guess, one of the first targets to kind of address. So ensuring that A, permissions are set correctly, and B, you aren't sharing things
to people who should never have access to those files to begin with. So it could be other companies, could be internally. Next step would be obviously labels in this case. So if you know where your files are and you've seen where things should and shouldn't be shared, the next thing is to kind of protect the documents. So classification is the first step. So what is this file? Is it an agreement? Is it an invoice, etc., etc.? You can automatically tag this document to be of a certain sensitivity. So it could be confidential, it could be public, it could be internal only. Whatever your internal naming convention is, having these makes it a lot easier for you to understand. Yeah, this data set is very private. We should never use AI across that, or if we do, it's only for a select number of people who have certain permissions or a group. Right? So I think the big gap there is automatically labeling documents is the challenge in itself, because if you don't have extra licensing, there is a premium, you don't get automatic labeling. Again, the biggest benefit is that you don't have to tell people how or that they must label something because it's already assigning a label based on the contents of the file. So when you have not got the premium licensing, you've got manual labeling and you're expecting people to know which label to choose, when to use it, and to actually assign a label. So you can say, you can't proceed unless there's a label or there's a default label, but best to have the most appropriate label assigned. So that's the second stage of getting your data ready. And then the worst part is if you aren't fast enough to catch it, there's going to be shadow AI. So that's the term they've coined based off of shadow IT. The IT department said, no, you can't do a thing. So you've gone off and found a third-party tool and started doing some shady things. Same thing's happening. People are grabbing information and putting it into third-party AI. So that's where shadow AI comes from. And it's just a thing that happens if you don't give your users what they want. So if you aren't giving them Copilot or you're not rolling out Copilot in a governed way, they're going to find ways to get around your rules. They'll start using all sorts of things out on the web, something about lobster claw and a whale.
Oh, lobster claw.
Yeah, so just reiterating on that, as I just mentioned, the oversharing, that prompt, they've asked about salaries and an exec, maybe they should only see people under their management, in their direct reports, etc. However, so now they've got the entire business's payroll. This is something only payroll team should have only had access to. So permissions weren't set up correctly. That's the kind of risk you're running there. You've got to remember that it's not Copilot causing the risk. It's an inherent risk that already existed, and you may or may not have known, or you probably never dealt with it, which is why it's now showing up more obviously. And as I mentioned, the shadow AI and shadow chatbots happening. So just because you can't have it doesn't mean you can't use other AI. That's in itself the biggest problem, I guess. This big look on a class action, but you've got Samsung, you've got lawyers using AI. So when you start putting stuff that is sensitive out in the wild web, then it's going to get leaked. And part of that means it gets trained on. So the models out there will have all your company secrets, and they're no longer secrets. I guess that last or third point there, agents have drifted. So, like you said, if someone leaves, or they've created an agent, but there's no governance around it, who's managing it, is there a life cycle? It still has access to all these things, but if someone discovers it and starts using it, maybe they'll inherit those permissions to something they shouldn't have had. So,
I ask, is that like reviewing your permissions there? Is that still very much a manual? Someone needs to know what level of access or files that person.
There are tools for it, but are you going to have to pay? But yes, generally it's a manual thing.
Yeah.
Or you can make some automation.
Yeah, putting governance in place so that you've got just in
governance
time
would be the one.
access, limit sharing by default, so that you have to keep resharing every 3 months or 12 months to prevent the multi-year overshares. And then, better information architecture. So the SharePoint is structured by groups so that you change your group membership and you lose it rather than individuals, because that was faster.
Yeah, the IA discussion we started with our clients like more than 10 years ago. A few of them were going, why would we do that? Didn't we?
Yeah.
And the few that did suddenly went, oh, that was good. We started the conversation back then. It's all of a sudden,
And that's
some
it.
of
I
these
mean,
problems don't happen if they've got an information architecture that's
correct. If you've got a flawed foundation, you're going to have a flawed building, built on a house of cards, built on sand. And I mean, keep in mind, we had that conversation even earlier when SharePoint was on-prem too. It's like, well, how do we actually structure this, the overshare, the permissions? How do we control it? How do we review it? These aren't so much, as I was saying yesterday, they're not a Copilot problem. It's really irrelevant with Copilot because Copilot just uses what you've got access to. But you've got to go back in time, unfortunately, and say, okay, well, what's the governance? How are we going to manage the groups? How are we going to manage sharing? Are we going to kill anonymous sharing links? What about expiring sharing links? And like you said, Sean, we got to share it every 3 months. Well, if you're sharing it every 3 months with the same user, put them in the bloody group. That sort of stuff. There's no silver bullet with this sort of stuff. I know there is. It was called Operation HP Orchestration or something like that, but it's $100,000 app and it's designed for the enterprise, and that can sort of shift users around and clean them up and tidy them up. I'm sure there's probably a cheaper version of that around that sort of does that. What did Hyperfish turn into? You remember Hyperfish by Thake? There's a product called Hyperfish developed by Jeremy Thake, who recently resigned from Microsoft, and that would bug you about updating your metadata within AD when everyone's still at AD, and that would also manage, I think, some group management as well. So you're going to look for group management software essentially. That's going to be the technology side of it, but the business side is okay. Well, what group should they be in? Who's the owner of that? All the governance related around that and the sharing, because it's all one and the same. It is.
What I find really tricky is when we inherit something that someone else has built, because a new client comes on and we've already got an existing widget. It's like, well, how the hell was it built? What are the permissions? How do we surface all those parameters so we can say, look, it's nice that you've got a fantastic lock on the front of your place. It's just a bit of a shame you left the key under the letterbox or under that.
Yep.
Like you said, there's like Entra ID governance is an option. You've got access packages, reviews, and stuff like that to consistently check every so often. And then person need to be.
But that's hard when you've got an organisation of 1,700 people too, because it's not an IT problem. Then it's like, okay,
coming in to help you.
Who should be in these groups? IT's got no idea.
Yeah, and that leads on to data leaks. Because people have got access to things they shouldn't have. So suddenly the PPI is disappeared out of the organisation. Well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
It's downloading, copying, uploading, and taking it.
Yeah.
Generally how it happens.
And that's not just the memory stick that's left in the cab.
So if you haven't guessed, I used a bit of co-work to make these slides happen. And it took that swirl thing and it did something, but it actually started off the other direction. It was down. I'm like, no, this is a journey of transformation. Goodness, I'm not going down. So it flipped.
But I mean, that's a good analogy.
It did a bloody in the middle.
Look how much work you've done after the middle. You've done bugger all because all the work is before.
I think it had some intrinsic smarts there to make it a good image, but I guess depending on where you are in that journey, you've done nothing. Permissions, server sharing, everything is just as it was because it could have been COVID. You've just gone, everything goes online. We don't care. Make it happen, team. Then all the information's everywhere. There's no control. And now it's the time to call back at that. You can argue, like with some of the use cases I was talking about yesterday, where sure you can roll out Copilot for a few people, but it's a very limited experience because you're restricting what it can see, what it can or can't do. But you want something that is going to be broad strokes, everybody benefits the same rate. So past that stage, I mean, you've got options in Microsoft Purview, so for the most part, a lot of organizations would have their business premium E3. You've got the base purview inclusion. So things like DLP labels, albeit manual assignment of those labels, you have got some of that control in place as it is. And if you need to get the next level up, E5 or the purview suite, so be it. At least you're going to be in a better place when you start having your information protected at that level. And after that, everything's all at scale. Like you said, it's less effort later because you've done all the heavy lifting, all the groundwork. You've ensured that there's at least a good amount of governance and compliance going on and mitigating all those risks so that later on you're just adding more seats and users and everybody is already benefiting from all the security you've got in place. So there's 3 pillars to controlling the Copilot, and you might recognize this as the term Copilot control system. We've already talked about some of these various services, features, product names. Starting with the left there is information protection. So anything around that classification of information and assigning labels manually, I guess, and DLP, that's that first stage. And as we move on to the second one, mentioning restrictions of stuff, it is the restricted SharePoint searching. So that's a feature that you do need to turn on, and I'll bring it up in a moment. But effectively, it's choosing which SharePoint sites that Copilot can access. That's a way of managing the kind of risk that may or may not happen after that. You've got SharePoint Advanced Management or some subset of it included in the Copilot licensing as well, and that gives you reporting on what's being shared externally. There's a life cycle behind SharePoint sites to ensure that you've got up-to-date content, so the AI is always accurate. And then you've got access to agent registries. So that was in Entra ID, that's being moved out of that into Agent 365, just as part of the UI updates there. And with the third point there is measuring what you're doing, right? So I think yesterday we were harping on how do we know we're getting our money's worth of what we're doing here? So you've got telemetry baked into the Copilot licensing. So you've got dashboards, you have analytics, who's using what isn't being used. So, I mean, not a huge part of the control, but at least it's giving you, insights to then act on so that you're ensuring that the right people are getting the most use out of it. I understand where you came from yesterday when you kept harping on the same things, but and yes, I have a separate set of slides of the same deck. I was trying to make it so it's more user group friendly versus conference style, but I think it was 80% the same content. But yeah, the same kind of thing, but on the right, it's probably worth mentioning. So that's the stuff around the SharePoint Advanced Management. So restricted access control, restricted content discovery. It's going into a SharePoint site and saying, you're only allowed to access this folder or these files if you're in this security group. It's not at the site level, not the document library. We're at folders and files now. So similar to that story with the sensitivity labels or that for DLP, but this is access control on SharePoint sites. And then you've got the data access governance reporting. So which files have an external sharing link, who's still sharing, how much access are you meant to be giving, and the RSS as well I just mentioned. So so the restricted SharePoint searching, there's a few PowerShell commands that you have to run with SharePoint Online Management. It's fairly straightforward. And I guess the main thing to understand here is that yes, it's more of a time buy. So you're putting off doing the right thing, ensuring that permissions are right and all that. And it's more, if you want to start using Copilot, you can turn this on. But the other thing they don't tell you up front is it breaks the Microsoft search. So the search bar at the top of SharePoint, it will probably not have a good time once you turn this on. So that's why it's
No one uses search anyway.
Copilot's not going to replace it, except when you break it like this.
Yep.
So once you've taken care of all the issues and your permissions and all that stuff, turn this off so that your search works again, but also Copilot that behave properly the way it was designed to, right? But yeah, if you are going down this route, it's picking all the relevant sites first, excluding obviously things like finance, HR, etc., that people should never ever have access to. Yeah, it's that flow chart. Are you ready? Yes. Copilot. No. Do this. So depends on your risk.
So I'll
appetite.
just go back one. The
Right.
key part on that is it's a time buyer. It's not a fix.
Yeah.
This will buy you some time to get your shit together.
Yeah.
It won't fix it forever.
But I guess if you've got pressure from above and they want Copilot, this is an option.
This
Right.
is something I'll whip up this afternoon and you have it, but yeah, it's not going to buy you months and months and months of time.
No. Yes, I kind of mentioned a couple of those, but I guess site lifecycle management. I don't believe there's much in SharePoint natively in terms of the admin center. So this lets you create policies so that there's checks to ensure that hey, the site's still used, the data is still relevant. Otherwise, maybe gets archived, gets deleted. Whatever you do with your SharePoint information, you might have an external archival procedure to pull up storage, content manager, or whatever it may be. Bit one because kind of already touched on those. Coverage perfection. So I think we also mentioned this yesterday. We don't need to assign a sensitivity label to everything, right? You need to label the things that need it most. So anything to do with finance, any secrets, certain products that haven't been released yet to the public, those all need labels, I guess. At what level? Could be confidential, highly confidential, restricted, whatever you use internally. Make sure that you have labels on your content.
You don't have the auto labeling in your license. Is there a tool or a function through here that kind of allows you to get that majority? Or is it someone's job for the next
It's a
couple of
premium
months?
for a reason. It's a lot of digging through, particularly historic, right? If you've migrated a file share into the SharePoint, there's going to be like years of content to go through. It's going to take someone a long time to manually go through, ascertain what content is in here, which label should I assign. But if you do go down the premium path, you create a policy for the label and say any of these assign a label, and it does it just does it behind the scenes. You don't need to be watching it. I think there is a bit of a throttling. It's a huge number, right? You won't really hit it if you're a smaller company or anything like that. But over a week, if you had like a full repository in SharePoint with no labels, it'd be done essentially. So that's for the retrospective labels, but moving forward, anything new would also get immediately labeled as well. So it kind of makes sense to do it. Not to being recorded, but I mean, I suppose you could get a trial, get the labeling done, and then roll back because labels are persistent, right? It's part of the metadata, so it won't go away. And you could set it up so that you need to provide justification, or you prevent certain what do you call it, de-escalation of sensitivity, so it stays at a certain sensitivity. So you could, in fact, the licensing, get it done. You lose the licensing. Someone from billing is not going to like you very much, but effectively you've done the work in labeling everything. I didn't say that because that's quite right. Cool. Readiness states. Site access reviews, ensuring that, I don't know how big these organizations are. Some places have thousands of sites, but if your most important ones are reviewed, you might be at a better state to say, hey, we can start the pilot now. We can have X number of users in these departments start playing with Copilot. To ensure that data at least is safe. In the next step, I don't know about governance hubs, but it's really part of that initial team that you pull together from different stakeholders, different departments to even decide on use cases for AI. You've got this group of people to bring together and say, these are the rules, these are the guide rails, this is what we need to be doing. It's on someone's head, so you've got it written down. So it has to be abided to. And only then can you start moving forward. So talking about restricted search, and I don't like that, so I will change that in the final deck. All right, I have mentioned these feature sets a lot so far, but underlying it is Microsoft Purview that provides us the bulk of the data security, so particularly information protection and data loss prevention. There are other things on there as well. So the data security posture management will give you a hand in discovering, identifying your data across the estate and what kind of types of data it is. And it will suggest the right kind of policies you should be creating in terms of labeling or data loss prevention and so on. So you've got a tool that will help you get data ready. And I guess the things at the bottom there are more around the risk side of things. So insider risk management is more for people who are intentionally or accidentally doing things they shouldn't be doing with your information, right? So you could be sharing something externally you didn't mean to. You've typed in Daniel, but it's come up with Daniel from down the road at some other place, right? And you've sent a file out and it shouldn't have gone out. Yeah, it's an oopsie, but it will come up on the reporting as, they've done this. You need to investigate. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe they intentionally are stealing data. That could be a thing. But alongside that, you've got adaptive protection. So this is where you start bringing together the rest of the security stack. Entra ID. There's identity protection. So risky users, if that same user has shared something externally, they've been flagged as a risky user now. All of a sudden, their conditional access policy has been heightened. They need to re-authenticate MFA or re-register for MFA, reset password, go on site on the corporate network and ensure that they are them. Go back in, clear out their riskiness. So that's probably the best thing you do because of the zero trust framework and ensuring that data isn't leaking out at scale. That was an animation, right? Just reverse that. But you get the idea. It sits kind of, okay. It sits behind Copilot, right? So it's an interesting revisit that. But yes, you get the idea. So DSPM, already mentioned that briefly. Okay. Part of having Purview, you've got the audit, your unified audit log. So all of the interactions that an end user has with Copilot is tracked. It's similar to Teams conversations, right? It's all stored in your mailbox, right, in Exchange Online, because for some reason that's the best place to store text, particularly if you need to do any legal holding and discovery of information. So you will find all of the prompts that you send and all the responses back from Copilots or agents or whatever it may be. That's tracked by the audit log. So you've always got that information there. So if in retrospective, you could go back in. You could then go, hey, DSPM, what can I do around ensuring that there's safe communications going on? And there is communication compliance, the whole other kettle of fish there to strangle in a barrel. I don't know what the sayings are, but it's around people saying untoward things, it getting detected, and then stopping certain actions from happening. So you could be asking Copilot, hey, how much does Allmed over there make? And it would just go, hey, hang on, this is no, you can't ask these questions, and the conversation stops there. But it will get logged, so it's on record that you've asked or you've attempted to ask, hey, I wanted access to sensitive info. It might trigger the insider risk management, right? You could get someone might come knocking, hey, you're doing some dodgy stuff on your computer, come with us. So you've got all the tools there, and you've got that dashboard, you have the pane of glass to prepare you for improving your posture in terms of data security, not just identity or devices and whatnot. This is the underlying brains of AI. And I guess the beauty of some of the Purview tools is you can simulate first. So you put it in test mode. You got the DLP policies, turn them on. One things I've done in the past is turn on a thing in simulation mode, but if you've got the notify checkbox, and if you don't tell people about doing that, all of a sudden everyone's getting these messages saying, hey, this message triggered blah, 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 blah. This is containing a credit card or whatever. But at the very bottom it says, oh, but we still send the email. And they're freaking out because it's like, well, what is this creepy, crazy message saying after I tried to send this information? So if you are doing any work with Purview, always have a good change advisory plan in place and test with a smaller use case of people. It's just a handy tip there for you. But in any...
Is that like a sandbox?
No, so this would be on your actual header, right? So the policy you created, but you set it to be simulate only. So it won't do any of the actions you've told it to do with the policy. It'll flag, it'll give you alerting and notifications, but it won't block access. It won't, whatever. It lets you send an email or that. But who people would be that would do these certain actions. I think in the Purview the home dashboard of the portal, you get the information or telemetry around X number of DLP related things. So as soon as you get a license, I guess you sign into the Purview Admin Center, it'll do like an initial scanner of everything anyway. So it'll say, oh, you've got 300 counts of passport numbers and driver licenses in SharePoint. It's like, oh. And so until you create policies and labels and stuff, it won't do anything with it. So it does a bit of scanning, and then this alongside make sure that you are ready to actually roll out a policy. So you get the opportunity to go back and tune it, fix it up, make it more restrictive or less restrictive, and then enforce it. And then you can turn on things like justifications, bypasses, and all that. So you are still letting your user be productive. It's just that you've got this in place to ensure that none of that leakage or accidental stuff happens ever. Okay, now this time we're tackling the shadow AI piece here. So Defender for cloud apps, you might have seen this in one of its various other names. I'm trying to remember, difficult to remember what they are. So before cloud app broker or something, CASB, whatever that stands for. But yeah, the latest iteration, this sits between Purview and Defender, kind of does a bit of both. But what we'd use it for in the way of AI is we can now, when someone goes to open up their web browser, goes to ChatGPT, for example, we could say, go to ChatGPT, you just can't use your clipboard, so you can't copy paste anything, right? So you're protecting your data at least at that level, or you could just block ChatGPT, the domain altogether from being accessed. But yeah, there's two sides to this. There is obviously I wouldn't call it freemium, but there's the basic version and it's the premium version. So the basic version lets you discover all of the apps or the AI that's being used in your organization. Then you get the premium side where you start having policies to block and control access. But also you get things like endpoint DLP, so stuff that happens on a laptop. So if someone's downloading all the files, triggers an alert, hey, why are you downloading 10 gigs of finance data, that kind of thing. But also it picks up, hey, they're using third-party AI that we haven't sanctioned. Let's block that, or block it until they come to us and we vet it and then we unblock it and start using it that way. So also making sure that everyone's signing in with their work accounts. I think that's one of the important things here. So stopping all those third-party tools from being used is really what this is trying to do. Okay, I'll try and speed up. Set of controls. So yeah, those policies we put in place, they're designed to be changed, and some of them actually include adaptive what do you call them, criteria within the policies, so that over time, if something changes, person's group memberships change, the policy might adjust to their current group memberships and so on. And talk about the risk tiers. So if there are risky user, risky sign-ins and all that, you have different experiences with how you access or try to get back in. Tracking the outcomes. Feeling co-work to a thing. I don't remember writing this. So yeah, I guess what it's kind of saying there is, quality over quantity. You don't need 20 different policies, but you need at least a couple that are doing the right thing in your tenant. And yes, I think you mentioned this one yesterday. It's like, oh, how many people are using Copilot for prompts? We don't care about how many prompts are being used each day. It's how many outcomes are happening, right? So a lot of it's just you argue with the AI because it didn't want what you wanted, right? So you could be churning it through.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, that's not exactly the best metric to use, but at least it gives you an idea of who's actually testing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's the best use of it, but I guess if you do have worst case scenario, but if you have like a report or the telemetry around recovering from an incident that is related to data loss, for example, or the fact that you maybe just entirely block that happening from the get-go because it detected it was sensitive and it stopped you from sharing or doing whatever. So that could be, you save yourself several days of investigation because now you don't need to go litigation holding someone's mailbox to figure out who they sent sensitive information to, right? Towards the end, we're talking about agents. So talked about Agent 365 being that control plane. So we are now, we're allowing agents to be created, but we need to then publish them to the tenant, right? So IT comes in, they review your agent that you've created, and if they're okay with it, they'll publish it. Everyone in the organization can see it, provided you've got the right kind of user base. So if it's a certain group needs to access it, they've been assigned access by Agent 365 in the registry. The finance team can use finance bot, whatever you call it. And when they go into the agent store, they can see it listed there, they can add it, everybody's happy. One of the first things I saw when you could do agent creation from SharePoint was whatever library or location you're in, you can create the agent. It points to the information in there. It could be sensitive, who knows what it is. You can bring that agent into Teams chat and share it with someone. And that could be someone that's not part of the finance team, for example. So as you share it, it will come up saying, hey, you're about to share this agent and this underlying knowledge that they don't have access to. Do you want to continue? Now, I haven't checked it since day one. They may have changed that by now, but that seems like really bad governance by going, here's agents and all this information with it. Have fun. So things like that. So if you have users using Agent Builder, there's a risk, which is why in the tenant settings you can disable the creation of tenant agents, but also stops them from adding agents and all that stuff as well. So it's kind of it's a blocker to using it, but at least you're controlling and ensuring that whoever's creating agents are doing it properly. There's lifecycle management, you got the right information being shared. If you're using Copilot Studio, you've at least got control over, is this development, is this production, who has access to it. Part of that registry. We'll have screenshots at least, but if the registry has every agent that's in use being touched or added at any point in your tenant, and it should generally have who's added it at least. And another piece from the Entra ID side of things is this Entra agent ID. So all these agents, they've got an identity in your tenant so that you can apply conditional access to it as well. So is it allowed to do a thing? No. But if you start sharing agents to other businesses, so it could be B2B, you can at least see this agent's being shared with this company, it's doing all that. You're still managing the agent inside your tenant, but it receives updates. So that's how you can share your company built agents that way. Another graph that didn't come out of the graph. So I guess, yeah, all the reporting that you may see in your tenant side, you want to be going that way, mostly for the most part, in terms of adoption and usage. But in that way, for all the bad stuff, right? You don't want more incidents. You want less things happening. And for moving forward, you generally want to have a pretty tame, pretty calm graph of all the other things that are happening in your tenant. But yes, but I guess building on this, if you are responsible for any of the security going on in your business, there's plenty of resources to cover. So there's the Ninja Training Purview. You've got those other applied skills assessments that you can take on as well, particularly the one around the secure and governed M365 or Copilot deployment. The other two are purely around information protection and so on. And there's also the exam for the certification in security admin. Yeah. Cool. Obviously, I will need to rehearse this a few more times and actually have an intro outro. This is where questions, dissent, and war stories happens, apparently. I don't know. Not bad for slapping together without much prep. Feel free to connect if you haven't already connected.
Cool. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that. Common content.
Yes.
And yes, our next meeting is on. I did have that up. I forget. When is that?
Are you going to do it the first week of June?
Sorry.
The first week of June, or
Yeah.
3rd of June.
Well,
is the
Sorry.
3rd is the current.
The 3rd. Yeah. So we'll be back here on the 3rd. I've got to organise presenter. I don't want to have to present again after I get back from conference, because I'm probably going to do the Brisbane one as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Now,
When did we
Ben
say we-
reached out.
That was during the week.
Yeah, that was during the week, so that's another presentation as well. So I've been doing a lot of presentations lately. But no, thank you very much, Andrew, for that. Don't forget, if you're going to go check out his session. When are you on? The Thursday?
I'm on the Thursday before lunch, so it's going to be
Oh, nice.
me between a lot of people and their food. So
Nice. And yes, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
see you later.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.